I don't care that OJ Simpson died. I don't. I get really frustrated when people, celebrities, notable people in society die and then all of a sudden they become saints. This guy was not a saint. I'm not a saint. I don't even want my family to talk about me as a saint. I'm not. Just be real. I get so frustrated when people die and all of a sudden these guys, whether it's somebody as notable as OJ Simpson or your own father who was a complete asshole and took advantage of every person on the planet, all of a sudden he dies and then he's a great human being, he's a saint? Come on now. Kipp, what's up, brother? Great to see you. A little different than we normally do. Nobody else would know it, but we normally record these podcasts every Monday at 10 o'clock Mountain, and we're recording this at 2:10 Mountain. So both of us are a little scatterbrained on a Friday. We're a little scatterbrained, so bear with us, guys, but I'm going to be gone, and I think part of the lesson here is even though you have things come up, I'm going to be gone all of next week. We still got to get things done. So we make plans and we adjust accordingly. And here we are, you and I, recording on a Friday afternoon. I think objectively, you might be a little bit more scatterbrained than I am today, Kipp.
Totally. I had a rough day at the office yesterday. Literally.
Oh, really? Shoot. Sorry, man.
Well, and my mornings are a little bit more, Monday mornings because of this are a little bit more planned to prep. And literally like lunch, 30-minute drive back from lunch. That was a meeting to hop into here, and someone was in the studio, so I had to kick him out. And I'm like, oh shit, But hey, we'll make it do, man. Good way to start off the weekend. I'm down.
We make it work. We make it work. Well, normally we start with headlines. You said that you didn't have a headline just because of all that's going on. I don't actually have a headline either. I've got a series of headlines. I've got just a theme that I've been seeing over the past several days. So you want me to just go ahead and jump right into that?
Yeah, let's do it. I love it.
All right. So a couple of days ago, as you may know, Mr. OJ Simpson died.
I already know which one. I tagged this news story for Monday in preparation.
Okay, so you're going to have to change for Monday.
Well, what I've been doing is tagging stuff in preparation for headlines, and then Sunday I'll kind of look at what I tagged for the week, and this was what I in my process is tagged as a consideration, so we're there.
Let's just have it out right now, Kipp. Let's just have it out right now.
Right, I think
I've been doing a little planning in preparation for our discussion today. And I've got 4 bullet points I wanted to hit on. I'm not addressing any specific headline in general, or specifically, I'm just talking about it in general.
Got it.
Because there's thousands and thousands of headlines out there, and so you can go ahead and pick whatever one you want. Here's a couple of thoughts I have. I have 4 in particular. Number 1, this is the one that's going to make me sound really, really cold. I don't care that OJ Simpson died. I don't. His life doesn't impact mine. Great football player, not so great human being, and that's the extent of my care for what's going on with this guy. I get really frustrated when people, celebrities, notable people in society die, and then all of a sudden they become saints. This guy was not a saint. I'm not a saint. I don't even want my family to talk about me as a saint. I'm not. Just be real. I get so frustrated when people die and all of a sudden these guys, whether it's somebody as notable as OJ Simpson or your own father who was a complete asshole and took advantage of every person on the planet, all of a sudden he dies and then he's a great human being, he's a saint? Come on now. Yeah. And I'm not saying we need to, quote unquote, disrespect the dead, but I don't need to pretend that you were something other than you weren't. And if I'm supposed to give my eulogy for my father or somebody in my life who wasn't a great human being, I'm going to state the facts, but I'm not going to inflate the facts and tell everybody how wonderful he was, because the reality is that he wasn't, and you weren't, Kipp, and I'm not, and nobody is. Yeah. And there's only about 3 people, maybe 5, maybe 10 at most, who actually care about me dying. But we get so wrapped up in this thing of like, worshiping celebrities and telling everybody how great they are. And I don't buy into that nonsense for one bit. So that's point number one. Point number two. Everybody seemed to get really upset that when certain individuals said, hey, you know, we lost OJ Simpson. He was a great football player, blah, 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 blah. There was a lot of people who got upset because they failed to mention the people that he, quote unquote, killed. Well, how could you not recognize the victims in this post? Guys, like, we need to worry about other things. And which leads me to point number three. He was acquitted on criminal charges. I still believe, maybe a little bit less than I did before, still believe in the criminal system, the justice system. He was acquitted of those charges. Now, civilly, he was held liable for some civil lawsuits. And I think if I remember correctly, and I think I saw that he owes upwards of $100 million to the survivors. But criminally, he was acquitted. So do you believe in the justice system or not? So everybody's like, oh, he did it. I don't know. I have my ideas and my thoughts as to whether or not he did. And full disclosure, I think he did kill those people. But he was acquitted. So do you believe in the justice system or not? He was charged civilly, so I'll give you that. But we need to make sure that we honor the justice system or fight to change it. So you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth and say, hey, we really appreciate the justice system. And on the other hand, say that, well, oh, you didn't mention the victims? Well, he wasn't charged criminally for killing those two individuals. So what are you talking about here? Yeah. Okay. And then the fourth point, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is, and this just goes against what I just said. I read a post the other day, maybe this morning or yesterday, and it was a juror, and I never saw this, but it was a juror. The first time I saw it was today, a juror who said that essentially what they said is the reason they acquitted criminally OJ Simpson was to make amends for racial injustice, specifically Rodney King. Rodney King was beaten by police officers, not killed, but beaten by police officers. He died in 2012, but in 1991, very publicly was beaten by any objective standard unnecessarily, right? We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And that's what started the LA riots of 91. And then in 95, OJ Simpson was put on trial for killing his ex-wife and her current love life. So this juror basically said, well, yeah, we all knew. 90% of the jurors knew and believed that he was guilty, but the reason that we acquitted him was to make up for the Rodney King beatings. And the person who was interviewing this specific juror said, do you think that's right? And her answer was this. And for those of you who are just listening, she basically made the Y emoji, with the hands up, like,
I don't know.
Doesn't really matter if it was right or wrong. We were just getting back because he killed white people. What an evil son of a bitch. I'm so sick of the race thing. Look, I'm not saying that injustices haven't taken place. Rodney King was an injustice. George Floyd, I don't know if it was an injustice necessarily, but I have my doubts about the decision that was made.
Against the police officer?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. He was doing what he was trained to do. And you guys
there's so much conflicting evidence.
Yeah, and his department, state, and government threw him under the bus as the fall guy. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Now,
and then there's another guy
that's
recently. Well, yeah, we can debate that, sure. And I think that we can start making the case for jiu-jitsu, right? How do you subdue somebody without putting them at risk of death? Yeah. And we ought to talk about that. But there's another individual, I can't remember his name right offhand, and I might get slaughtered for just not remembering this guy's name. But the big headline these days, in the last couple of days, is Black man gets murdered, shot 96 times in 41 seconds. Have you seen this, Kipp?
96
I got to find the guy. 96 times in 41 seconds. But what most headlines fail to mention is that this individual shot his gun first 11 times at police officers and hit one in the wrist.
Like the shot count determines like a level of aggression.
It doesn't matter.
One shot kill, 96 kill, same.
I don't care if it was 1 or if it was 500. If the guy is shooting at police officers, then depending on the situation, I'll give some nuance there.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation, he asked for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and the headlines are all, well, he got pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt. Or no, what do they say? I've seen two headlines. One is he died because he was black. No, he died because he shot at police officers. He died for a seatbelt violation. No, he died because he shot at police officers. Nobody's going to get killed if they get pulled over for a seatbelt violation. Black, white, purple, gay, straight, transgender. Put your hands on the steering wheel and listen. Now's not the time to debate and argue, and just observe what the police officers are telling you, and you're going to walk away. Now, look, could you get wrongfully accused of doing something? Yes, of course. So that's fine. But are you willing to die over it? Look, I might get pulled over for speeding, or maybe I look like somebody, and if the police officer says, hey, get out of your vehicle, get on the ground, you know what I'm doing? Getting my ass on the ground. Putting my hands behind my head slowly. I'm not putting my hands in my pocket. I'm not arguing. I'll have my day in the next 24 to 48 hours. I'm not doing it today, though.
And you're definitely not pulling out a gun and pointing it at
and
police
shooting
officers. That's for sure.
Right. I'm just so sick of the narrative. And look, I'm not here to tell you about the race stuff. I think probably we're just, I don't know if we're just as, but we're definitely racially charged more than we were a decade ago.
Totally.
And I think a lot of that, and I think a lot of that started with Obama using the race card, immutable characteristics, as a leveraging point to consolidate voters. And it's just gone downhill from there. And it's unfortunate. And I don't want to see black people die. I don't want to see white people die unnecessarily. I don't want to see any of that. But let's stop with this nonsense. Let's accurately report what's going on. Anyways, this is a huge sidestep from the OJ Simpson stuff. But there are some serious race issues that we need to address. And a big part of that is just perpetuated. Black people and white people in every race other than that are being played by politicians and legacy media. And unless you're willing to acknowledge and recognize, you talked about this a couple of weeks ago, you're going to continue to get played, and white people are going to continue to get pitted against black people and vice versa. And it's dangerous, it's disgusting, and it's immoral. It's horrible. And we need to come together. And I think if more people reported accurately what's going on, not black man gets killed for not wearing a seatbelt, but man gets killed, black or white, doesn't matter. Man gets killed for shooting at police officers. That's the headline. But we just don't report that. Report it that way. People anyways, there's my soapbox and my tangent and everything else. I'm so frustrated with this stuff.
So let me ask you this. I'll pick one of the many things that you mentioned, but I'm kind of curious about it. I heard when you talked about the jury, like the juror, of what they said, and I think we do this. In fact, it goes against the Stoic philosophy, right? That we do what we should do what is right to our conscience, regardless of consequence. And that's a perfect example of maybe juries going, hey, you know what? We don't want to riot outside this courthouse because of the LA riots that were just recently happened, and we're going to make a decision not because it's the right thing. Not because we should have honor and integrity in our decision process, but because of the fear of the consequences of these actions. Or we're going to try to dictate what may happen afterwards. And we do it. We do it politically. Every political season. What candidate are you going to choose for? The right one in your conscience, or the one because the natural consequences would be this, and so it's not really who I think I should vote for. It's not what I think I should do, but I'm going to do this anyway, right? You talked about this with like fathers and trans boys and girls sports. Well, I don't want to do that, but then my daughter won't be able to play. Guys, it's the very problem. The very problem. Right. The problem isn't the consequences. The problem is that we're going against our integrity to try to control the consequences. That's the problem.
But you know what? The problem, though, Kipp, that people will say, and I agree with everything you're saying, trust me, but I want to play the other side for a minute. The other side is people will say, well, I mean, you might be right, Kipp, but this is just the way it is. So we have to play the game. Yeah. What do you say to that?
Well, and then I say, you feel like you have to play the game because that's the very thing that everyone keeps doing, is they're going against their own integrity to play the game. And if we all just did what we knew what was right, there wouldn't be a game to be having to be played. So where does it start? You? Oh, I'm going to wait. You know what? I'll do the right thing when everyone else is. Really? Or are you going to be able to look back at life, at your day, at the decisions you made and said, you know what? Regardless of the consequences, I'm going to live with myself and live with my decisions.
I agree. I don't have anything else. I'm just trying to play the other side. I'm trying to think about what other people might think. And we talked about this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. When all of society seems like it's falling apart, worry about your own personal society. That starts with you, then the walls of your home, then your business and colleagues and coworkers. And if you espouse these virtues, you can't instill it in people that live in Austin, Texas, or Baltimore, Maryland, or somewhere in Florida. Like that isn't yours to deal with. What yours to deal with is your kids, your wife, the people you work with, your neighbors, and then and only then can we begin to expand our reach outwards.
Totally. And I don't want to come across like we say this often, we're not perfect. You don't think that stuff crosses my mind?
Of course.
Absolutely. This isn't about perfection. It's about commitment. Do I know what I should be doing? Absolutely. Do I mess up? Absolutely. But do I get back on the path? And it's about getting back on the path where we're out of integrity. It's not about perfection. And so anyone listening might be like, oh, these guys think they're all high and mighty. No, actually, dude, I get it. I totally get it. You don't think I would be struggling with that decision of pulling my girl out of sports and possibly, disrupting her possibility of, getting a college scholarship because I want to take a stance? You don't think that's hard? Absolutely it would be hard. Absolutely. But it doesn't mean anything that we're saying is not right.
Or another example, Kipp, is if you're a politician, you run the risk of not being reelected if you say the wrong thing, but you stand for truth.
Yeah, you're not in a position of authority.
And
you lose your influence. That's your livelihood.
And I think there's smart ways to do it, and I'm not saying don't be tactful about it, but I think virtue comes first. There's another element of it, Kipp, too, is faith. It's faith. When you go to the gym, let's look at it on a micro. Let's take another example, not politics or any of this social stuff. When you go to the gym, if I go to the gym every day this week for the next 5 days, am I going to see results? I mean, I might lose 3, 4, 5 pounds, right? Am I going to look jacked in the mirror? No, not really. It's going to take months before I start to see that. It's going to take even longer before other people start to see it.
Yeah.
But so why do we do it? Because you have faith that you're doing the right work and that over the long term, it will produce the inevitable and desired result. And how do you have faith? Well, you look at what other people have produced. You have good people, virtuous, righteous, strong, fit people in your corner who have said, hey, trust me, I've been in your shoes. It doesn't feel like you're moving the needle, but I assure you, you are. Because you look at the guy and he's jacked. Like, okay, well, that guy says to do it, so I want to be like that guy, so I guess I'll keep doing it. But faith, guys, and doing the right thing for the right reasons, knowing that it may not work out today, but it will definitely work out over a long and sustained period of time.
Totally. Well, and sometimes you're not going to get the results. Sometimes, and maybe most of the time, the results are not going to pan out. And maybe, just maybe, the benefit of doing what was right is found in the man that you became.
Or the legacy that you left.
Yeah.
And like, how many guys do we know of? You know, think about Jesus Christ. He died at what, 32, 33 years old? He was murdered.
Yeah. And by the way, statistically, you look at it logically, that didn't work out well.
Not for him.
Yeah, impact didn't really work out well, dude. You died fairly quick. You had some long life. You could have had better authority. There's a lot of stuff that those circumstances should have turned out a lot better.
Yeah, it didn't. But then you start to think about his legacy.
Amazing.
Millions, hundreds of millions, billions, literally, of people served through his life and message. At 32 years old. Something to consider. I saw a post on Instagram that said something like, I'm paraphrasing and I'm going to butcher it, but, weak men worry about themselves. Strong men worry about others. The best men worry about their legacy. It's pretty interesting.
I like legacy.
It's interesting.
Yeah, talk a little bit deeper on that one. We got a soundbite.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, we spent a half an hour talking about OJ Simpson and the like. Let's talk about some questions.
Yeah, and by the way, that wasn't the thing I tagged. I actually tagged something else. Is related.
All right.
To
well,
OJ
you can
Simpson,
share yours on Monday then.
Yeah.
Or in a week and a half from now.
Week and a half. All right. First question from the gram. We're fielding some questions from the Instagram. You can join Mr. Mickler on Instagram at Ryan Mickler. That's Michler on the last name. Chris Babbert.
Hey, by the way, Kipp, we didn't talk about this. I want you to ask every question. There's some comfortable and some uncomfortable questions. I want you to ask every single one. I'm ready to talk about them all.
Duly noted. Or someone hop online and throw in some tough ones.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Chris, how did you know you were being called to do what you are doing?
I didn't know. I know now. But it required me taking action first. And that's one thing that we talk quite often about is you don't get to see the summit till you get to the top. And sometimes we get to what we think is the top and it's a false summit and we have to keep going. So this is where the previous conversation came in, faith. Faith that you're doing the right thing, faith that you're moving. I think also lowering expectations. When I started Order of Man in 2015, I didn't have any expectation of what it would turn into today. I just thought it would be a really cool and fun thing to do. And I planted my flag for 2 years. I said, I'm going to do this for 2 years before I make any decision as to whether or not I'm going to continue to do it or throw in the towel. And I knew quickly. I knew within months, like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So I didn't know, and you will not know either. You don't get the key to whatever it is you're after until you do it and you prove to yourself that you can do it. I also believe this, and this is a spiritual perspective, that because it's based on Jesus's story of the parable of the talents, that in order for you to have more, you have to prove that you can do good with what you currently have. So a lot of people will say, well, I'd like to have more money. Well, you don't deserve more money, because if you did deserve it, you'd already have it. So prove to me that you can do good. A lot of people will say, well, yeah, if I had $1 million, of course. No, not of course. You'd be in the same damn position you are today because that's what you've earned. I see grown men mocking successful people. Yeah, if I went on Joe Rogan, then I would be. No, you wouldn't, because you didn't earn that right. Yeah. Well, yeah, if I had a good woman, yeah, if I had a wife like yours, well, then my marriage would be great. No, it wouldn't, because you would destroy it the same way you destroyed your current one. And I'm talking about myself. What behaviors change? you get what you deserve. If you want more in life, then you have to prove, and I don't care if this is secular or spiritual, you have to prove, and I'm just going to talk about it from a spiritual perspective. I have to show my God that, hey, you gave me these blessings and I'm going to use them for the betterment of myself and the people around me to the maximum that I can. And when he sees that, he says, okay, Ryan, yeah, I see that you believe in what you're believe in this. You believe in what you're saying. You believe in me. And so here's a little more for you. Let's see what you do now. And then I take more and I say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And I continue to serve and grow and expand and build and lead other people. And God says, all right, you passed the next grade. You passed 201. Let's see what you can do with 301. And I'll have to keep playing 301 until I pass it. That's how I look at it.
You said fun. I would assume that you might say something different if you gave some thought to it. Was it fun, or was it something that you were passionate about? You felt moved to. You saw. I think I'm assuming it had to be more than a fun idea. Yeah,
I mean, fun's going to the beach on Saturday and enjoying your time with your family and friends and people you love. Yeah. So maybe I misspoke there.
Yeah. Something you're passionate about or kind of moved you or you saw as an issue.
I don't even know if passionate is required. I was fascinated by. I was interested.
Okay.
That's it. I was just interested. Like, this is interesting. Had a cool conversation with so-and-so. That was interesting. I think I'll do that again. I wasn't passionate about it. I am now.
Yeah.
But when I started, I was just interested.
Just interested.
That's it. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Kipp, when you started jiu-jitsu, were you passionate about it?
No, I wasn't.
Are you passionate about it today? Would you say, are you passionate?
Absolutely.
You weren't passionate about it when you started, so why weren't you passionate then? Because you didn't know anything about it. But were you interested?
Yeah.
Were you intrigued? Curious?
Curious, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what's required.
Yeah, I like it. All right, CWS Triple B. Why are Toyotas not an American car? You started this, by the way.
I didn't start anything. People blew this out of the water, man. I don't even put that on me. That's not what he asked, though. What did he ask?
No, that's what he asked. He says, why Toyotas are not an American... He said, why Toyotas and not American car, but I'm assuming he meant are not an American car. Like, why aren't they?
He's saying... No, what he's saying is, why did you buy a Toyota and not an American car?
Oh, I see. I thought he was saying, why aren't Toyotas American cars?
No.
I was thinking he was going positive with you here. I didn't realize he was pushing back on you. All right, here we go.
No.
This is that tough question Ryan wanted to make sure we covered.
This is one of them. I did some research. First of all, I made a post on Instagram several days ago, and I said, hey, here's my 99 Toyota Tacoma, and I'm excited about it or whatever. And, like, if you're a Toyota owner, tell me what year, make, and model.
Part of the call.
Trucks only.
Yeah.
I said trucks only. I don't care about your Camry or your any. I don't care about any. I can't even name any names because I don't care about all that other stuff. I care about trucks, Toyota trucks. And dude, this post was hilarious. Guys like him were like, "Whoa, I can't buy American." Oh my goodness! And then 3 or 4 people started debating. I don't even know how they got there. You guys can go look at the post on Instagram about gay and transgender rights. I'm like, what?
That had to do with Toyotas?
I don't know. I don't know how it turned into that, but it did.
Well, they just assumed that you would care about it since you drove a Toyota and not a Ford.
I don't know if driving a Toyota makes you gay or straight, or a Ford makes you gay or straight. I don't know. That's subject to interpretation, but apparently that's where they wanted to go with the discussion. Holy cow. Like, wait, how did we go from here's my truck to transgender rights? People will argue about anything. All right, so I did some research. I wanted to come prepared. Here's what I found out. Most Toyotas are actually made in the U.S. Some are made in Mexico, a smaller percentage of Tacomas. I'm talking about trucks because I think some of the Camrys and things like that are made outside the States. But
in Japan and Asia, the cars, but they probably don't even produce trucks over there. Yeah.
There's like a Hilux, which is like the preferred truck of Middle East terrorists. So and we can talk about that for another conversation, which I have extensive knowledge about. But beside the point, most pickups are made in the U.S. or Mexico. So you can look at the VIN and you can say, based on the VIN, and I did research, so I'm not speaking out of my ass here.
No, I'm impressed.
If your VIN number is a 1, a 4, or a 5, it was built in America, manufactured in America. If your VIN starts with a 3, it was likely manufactured in Mexico. So if you guys are Toyota owners, you want to go take a look, then have a look. My truck the VIN starts with a 4, so it's manufactured in America.
So here
it's
we
a
go.
99 Toyota Tacoma.
Future decals at the Orderman store, store.orderman.com. Made in America decals that you can purchase and throw on your Toyota.
Right.
And then if it happens to
Tacoma.
be Tacoma, if it happens to be made in Mexico, you just put an S, made in the Americas, and then you're solid.
No, you don't do that. What happens if I see one of those stickers and I go look at your VIN and I see that it's a 3, then I burn your truck to the ground. That's what happens.
There you go.
So, okay, that's how you look at VIN numbers. So, yeah, my truck was likely assembled in, and I don't know, but again, I did a little bit of research, Fremont, California, which most of the production now is done in Texas, not Fremont. I actually looked at the door jamb, the driver's side door jamb, and this will confirm that my truck was indeed manufactured in California. And that could have either been Fremont or Long Beach, because there's a did I write this down? No, I didn't write this down. I looked at the facility. Gosh, I should have wrote this down. There's a facility. I think it's called TBAC Incorporated, TABC or TBAC, and that is a Toyota facility in Long Beach, California. So I'm giving you the facts here. That's okay. So that's where the Tacoma was made. So when you say why Toyota not American made, well, it is American made.
Best of both worlds.
But also, yeah, I own a 2015 GMC, which it was manufactured in America, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I own a 1976 International Harvester, also manufactured in America. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Done.
Meanwhile,
3 vehicles,
my
all
Ford is probably
manufactured in I don't know. I don't
China.
like Fords. I don't like Fords in China. No, whatever. I don't really get into that. I actually like the fight more than I care about whether you drive a Ford or Chevy or Toyota or whatever else. I just like to banter back and forth.
Yeah, those are
if you're
blows.
a Ford guy, whatever. I don't care. Do your thing.
I love it. All right, Alex Gibbs 8. How would you go about trying to help a kid, 19, who's already in a program for at-risk youth, who you just quantified his current problem is he's blowing his $3K a month Social Security check on OnlyFans, video games, and Uber Eats. Why would you have a Social Security check at 19?
Your parents died is all I can really consider,
okay.
or you're disabled.
Okay. He's gotten
That seems really high, though. I can't imagine receiving Social Security benefits for disability or death of either your father and or your mom being that high. So I think I have some questions there, but that's where Social Security benefits would come from.
Okay. He's gotten into a program that he has rent covered for the next year, but he will be responsible for half the rent the following year before being responsible for the whole thing the following year. So how do we go about trying to help this 19-year-old boy, man, youth?
I wish I had a better answer for you, but the reality is that you can only help some people to the degree they want to be helped. It sucks, man, to see a 19-year-old kid you care about. I don't know if this is a nephew or an acquaintance or a friend's son, or I don't know what the relationship is here, but this is really, really hard to see people go down this route. The only thing I would suggest to you is invite this individual into your circle. Okay, I don't go into other people's circles who let me think about the way to say this so it doesn't come across as condescending or an asshole, frankly. But I don't go into circles that I don't belong. Down, I mean. And I'm not talking about the worth of human beings. I'm saying I don't go put myself in unnecessary situations. I push myself into circles I don't belong if it's up the chain of command, but I don't do it down. Now, that's not to say that I won't invite those people into my life. For example, my second son, he's got some friends here. I'm not going to go hang out with my son's friends. It isn't my place, and it doesn't serve me well. But I would love to have them here. In fact, a couple of them came over today, and they were playing basketball. I said, "Hey, boys," and one of them said, "Hey, what's this shirt right here?" I said, "Oh, these are shirts that I offer through my business. Why don't you guys pick either a shirt or a hat?" So I gave them. They both picked out a shirt out of 8 or 9 shirts they liked. They both liked one, and I said, "Great, you can have that one right there." And that gave me an opportunity to share what we're doing because they asked. They're like, "What is this? You sell clothes?" So that's part of what we do, but here's what else we do. And it gave me an opportunity to share, but they are in my circle. I'm not in their circle. We don't ever step down and get dirty in the mud with people that we shouldn't be getting dirty with. We invite them to our circle to lift them out of the mud. So all you can do with this young man who's 19 years old is invite him to go to the game, invite him to go sign up for the Spartan race you signed up for, invite to bring him maybe to work one day and say, "Hey, I'm going to work today, and I thought I'd pick you up and we'll go to lunch and spend a couple hours. I kind of show you what I do." Invite him into your circle and give him an opportunity to get out of his current environment. Don't go meet him there. That doesn't serve him because he's already familiar with that one. Show him something he's not acquainted with. And we do that by extracting them from the environment, showing them what is possible, and then allowing them to make their decisions. As a 19-year-old man, his brain's not fully developed, and I'm not saying that as a slight. That's accurate, factual, scientific. His brain is not fully developed, but he is considered an adult, and he gets to make those decisions. So influence him by bringing him into your circle, not by going into his.
Totally. I think it's important that we know that we can impact people, we can inspire people, we can motivate people. There's things we can do, but we have to always remember the analogy that you used earlier about sometimes I have to earn it. I'm not going to be ready for things until I'm able to handle them. And the reason why that's so important for us to remember is because often we get this a lot where guys will have this, "Hey, I've been helping this guy for a while and he hasn't changed yet, Ryan." And they're disenfranchised with it. Part of that is you think that them doing what you want them to do is the answer. It's not the answer. The answer is them doing what they want to do, not what you want them to do. Which means we have to honor agency and freedom as part of the growth process. There's no growth in me doing something out of command and control or me trying to appease you. Just like there's not beneficial for, "Oh, my wife does these really nice things because if I don't, I'll stonewall the shit out of her and I'll make her life miserable." Oh, no. We honor agency and freedom always. And so just be mindful of that. So then that way, if he doesn't change, if he's not doing the things, realize this is part of the condition. It has to be on their terms for it to be sticky and impactful, not yours.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too often, to your point, we take on things that aren't ours to take on. To share maybe an example, and I'm not saying this is true, by the way, so Mrs. Sorensen, if you're listening to this is not true. But if I knew Kipp was stepping out on you, I would call you out on it, Kipp. I'd be like, "What the hell is your problem, man? Like, you've got this wife who loves you. She's an amazing woman. You guys got kids together. You made a commitment. What are you doing? What is your problem? And also, that's your problem. I don't own that. I didn't make that decision. I don't owe you or anybody else or even her anything. But because I love and care about you, I'm going to hold you to task and say, what is your problem? What are you doing? How can I help you? How can I serve you? Let's correct this. Let's fix this. But ultimately, to your point, it's your decision to make. All I can do is go as far as I can go and then allow you to make the decision, just like you would want anybody to allow you to make your own decisions in life. So it's not, what other people do with their lives is not my issue. The only issues that I have are my children.
Well, yeah.
Those are the only, because my kids are kids, I'm responsible for them. So if one of my kids does something dumb, that's my problem.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
yeah. Sorry.
And I would even suggest once they hit adulthood, that's no longer even my problem. Now, we're going to get involved as fathers, right? If one of your kids does something dumb and he or she is 22 years old, if one of my kids did something dumb and, got arrested, and I would fight for my child. Of course I would do that, but it's still their decision to make. And we have to allow people to do that.
And the reason, I know, and the reason why the kids are still your responsibility, because you're their world to form consequence and learning opportunities. Once you're an adult, guess who creates learning opportunities for you? The world.
The world, yeah. Everybody else.
But
that's a good point.
We create a false version of that for our children to prep them. But once you're an adult, it's the world now teaching you the lesson. No longer.
You say a false set of circumstances. I agree with that. I use the term in controlled environments is the term I use, but it's the same concept, right? It's allow them to. It's the same reason why if they don't do the dishes, then they don't get to play video games, or they're grounded, or if they misuse their phone, or they come home late, then then you can't go out this weekend with your buddies because you came home late. Like, this is the consequence. We have to introduce them to those consequences.
Yeah. J. Hiller 7, ever thought about expanding Order of Man to other languages? Keep up the good work.
Yes. Next question. No, I don't know how to do that. I only speak English, so I don't know how to do that. So if you guys have thoughts on what that might look like, let me know. We'll talk about it because we want to impact the world. So we would definitely expand to Australia, places in Europe. Oh, wait, they all speak English. Okay, well, no, I'm open to it. They speak English, not American. There's a difference. Not Monroean or Peruvian or however you would say that. I don't even know how you'd say that.
All right.
But yes, if you have ideas, let me know. All ears.
Benjamin Allen Brown. This question, Brian Littlefield or Pete will appreciate this one. I have recently started my jiu-jitsu journey 2 months in. Congratulations, Ben. I love Origin, and I really want to order one of their gis. Do you think it would... I'll get a hard time being so new wearing such an elite gi?
No. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts on this. Yeah. I did see this question. No, you won't get a hard time. Most likely, if anybody says anything at all, they'll say, oh, that's a sweet gi. Like your upper belts will be like, dude, that's a rad gi.
Yeah.
Because they'll know. That's Origin, and they'll know that based on the way it looks and fits, and they'll know like this is a really nice gi. So that's what you'll probably get from your upper belts. Most people won't
saying
say
you're
anything.
A poser.
No, but there is one thing I would say. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kipp. So I have about 7 or 8 Origin gis myself, one for every day of the week. And when I had no problem wearing any of those gis. I've got white, blue, and black gis. I had no problem wearing any of those gis when I was training with the Origin guys because I was wearing Origin. That was fine. But when I came back to Southern Utah, I called Ace and I said, hey, man, like I'm coming back to train. And I said 2 things. I'm a blue belt. I said, hey, do you want me to put my white belt on? That was question number 1. Because I'm at your school and you didn't give me my blue belt. So would you like me to wear my white belt? And he said, no, wear your blue belt because I know your lineage and that's a legit blue belt. Wear your blue belt. The other question I asked him is I said, I have these gis as a blue belt. Do you want me to wear only white? Or is it acceptable to wear blue or black? And he said, no, you can wear whatever you want. But some schools will require you to wear only white, for example. So based on your school and the culture, be respectful of that. I was at lacrosse, my oldest son's lacrosse game last night, and at the end of the game, they go on each side of the field, and then they meet in the middle and they shake hands, just like you would do any sport in high school. But the goalie always goes first. And I thought, well, why is that? That's dumb. Like, why does the goalie need to go first? It doesn't matter. That's the tradition. So if you're going to play the game, then you need to honor the culture and the tradition. So depending on your school, just honor the school and figure out if they have any guidelines on what color gi you can wear as a white belt. Anything you would add to that, Kipp?
No, there was a stigma years ago that if you're a white belt wearing a black gi,
right,
like a little bit of, you would get thrown shade for wearing a black gi. But I think it's almost gone. I think most schools, but I love, says a lot about you as an individual to call up Ace and say, hey, am I good wearing my blue or should I be wearing my white? Because it says a lot. And there's value in it that we may not even realize, man. Maybe that's the theme of this a little bit, is that false horizon, that false ridge. Because often if we said that, let's say someone calls the school and they're like, yeah, don't wear a black gi. You have two choices. You can look at that and go, well, that is maybe stupid. Or you could say, oh, right, maybe there's a reason for it. Oh, wait, higher belts only wear those. Okay, now I have some target. Maybe it's meaningful. Oh, I'm part of this tribe that says that means something. Is that bad? No.
No, it's great. Not bad. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So, don't immediately jump to throwing shade just because there's some traditions. They're there for a reason. In most cases. I love their tradition because when you earn your black gi or your black belt, you're going to feel really proud of that because you earned it. Yeah. Go ahead. I was just going to add, this has been crossing my mind, right? Because Koa, he's 5. He's going to have his gray-white belt probably in about. He counts 19 more classes. He knows when he gets out of their belt, and he only has one gi. And I'll be honest, he wears it after class because he wants to wear it. And then he gets it dirty, and then I have to wash this thing within a day. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to get another gi, right? But it's been crossing my mind, okay. Maybe when you get a belt, that new belt, I'll get you a new gi. And maybe when you get a yellow belt, I'll get you a blue gi, right? So I'm already trying to plan what this might look like for him. So there's some pride in what he's wearing, and it adds meaning versus, he just jumped the line and he can have whatever new gi all he wants. It's no, man, make it mean something. I love tradition, man. I think in modern Western culture, we rebuke and dismiss tradition because of our individualism. I mean, this country was founded on rugged individualism, that you as the only person are the dictator of your life. And I see the value in that. Of course, I'm an individual. I would rather reinvent the wheel than do it your way, if I'm being honest. But I also see the value in tradition. And if I'm going to tap into a system, whether it's martial arts or an employer or some other sort of civil institution, then I'm going to honor the tradition. There's probably a reason that it's a tradition. And rather than buck the system at any given opportunity because you think you're so great as an individual, think about how you could become better because you're part of the whole. And so if I'm going to go train at a studio, it's no longer me as an individual. Yes, individually I want to improve, but I'm part of the gang now. I'm part of the tribe. And there's a hierarchy. And those guys, man, a couple of weeks ago I went and trained and I was training with this guy, and I've always been a little intimidated by him. I've never trained with him, but he's big and he's strong and he's fit and he's a brown belt. And I kind of bumped into him. I was trying not to make eye contact with him, and I did at the wrong time. And he's like, "Hey, let's train." Looking for a roll, and you looked at him. And you're like, "Oh, look away!" Yeah. And I was honored to get my ass kicked by him because that's their tradition. He's earned it, and so it's part of the deal. If you want to be around other men, earn your stripes, as we would say.
and feel proud when you do, and be aspirational when you haven't earned them yet. It's okay.
There is a fundamental principle that I've realized over the last probably about the year. And this is a principle from a work perspective, and I think it's transcendent. But the best possible way to serve the individual is through the group. It's better. The Iron Council can support you, Ryan, better than I can. And that's how we uplift each other. And that's what these tribes are. This is what jiu-jitsu schools are. This is your work teams. This is the Iron Council. It is the best way to elevate others is through the group.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're talking about it on a micro, but even to get maybe even a little bit more political again, immigrants coming to this country, look, if you don't want to assimilate to our values, get the hell out of here.
You're part of the group.
No problem. If you don't want to come and you don't believe in what we believe, no problem. Go somewhere that does. But if you want to come and be part of our tribe, then it's on you to assimilate to us, not us to assimilate to you. And people will hear that. I'm sure there'll be some people who hear that and take it out of context and think I'm a racist or any of these kind of things that people throw around. No, not at all. I welcome anybody who believes in what we believe in, and I will help you assimilate to our culture. It's not my responsibility to change my culture to fit your narrative or your ideology. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. If you get upset about, well, this gym's dumb because they require this, don't join the gym.
Dude, and you don't want
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want you, and you don't even want them. So go to the one next door. It's fine. But if you're trying to join a tribe in any context and to whatever degree, it's your responsibility to assimilate to that tribe or find one you can resonate more deeply with.
Yeah, totally. Gabriel Rejos de Villa, 1074. With how crazy is the food source in America, specific the meat industry, what recommendations will you give people that can't go hunt and to those who are thinking on starting to hunt?
Well, yeah. Well, starting to hunt, like just go hunt. You know, I would suggest if you can to find a really high success ratio pig hunt in Texas. I've recommended that for years. If you can get on a pig hunt in Texas, you're going to have a lot of success. You're going to harvest your first animal. You're going to get a immersion into what it's all about. It's like level 1.
Yeah.
So sometimes people will go and they're like, oh man, I didn't realize this is what it is. That's level 1. I would never immerse somebody into level 10 if they've never even completed level 1. So a high success ratio pig hunt in Texas is a great place to start. And then I took some notes and now I can't find my notes. I don't know. I swore I wrote this down, but there's a good friend of mine. His name is AJ Richards. And I'm going to pull it up here real quick so I can show you guys. He's doing some really cool stuff with the supply chain. And a lot of companies are, but this is one I'm really attached to. And I have no affiliation with these guys other than AJ's a good friend of mine. But there's an account on Instagram called From the Farm US. From the Farm US, all one word. And you can learn a little bit more about what AJ is doing with the supply chain and how the largest meat processing facilities in the world, 3 of the 4 are owned in America, are owned by foreign countries, and what kind of risk that exposes us to. So AJ's done a phenomenal job, and I'm going to butcher this, no pun intended, has done a phenomenal job of going direct to the rancher to consumer. And so he's helping introduce consumers directly to small time ranchers so that we can bypass these 3 of 4 foreign-owned processing facilities and go from the farm right to the individual. So again, if you want to check that out, I would highly suggest From the Farm US. From a hunting perspective, again, high success pig hunts are a great place to start. And you can even go look at, and I do have a vested interest in this company, I'm a co-owner and co-founder, is M42 Adventures, where we're introducing men and women to the outdoors. Part of that, not exclusively, but part of that is through hunting experiences. We've got one coming up in Africa. We're planning one in Hawaii. We've got a few slated for Texas as well. And that's m42adventures.com. So those are the two resources I would give you.
Awesome. I love these next two questions. They're really geared towards you. Steven's Tribe. How do your kids process you dating? Was it weird for them at first? What are both of your thoughts on when and how to introduce your kids to a significant other?
Yeah, it's still weird. You know, it's still challenging at times. I was with my ex we were together for 20, but I was married for 18 years. So my kids, anywhere from 16 down to 8 years old, all they know is me being with their mom. And that's not the case over the past year and a half. So it's a big learning curve, and it's a challenge at times. So my girlfriend and I have made a few missteps, I will admit. You know, maybe we tried to rush it too quick based on our own personal desire, and we didn't really consider how the kids would handle it. But we evaluated that, and we made corrections and adjustments. And I spent a lot of time talking with my kids about it, about how they feel and what it's like. And I talk about my girlfriend and her daughter when they're not around to my kids, because I want them to be familiar with who they are and my love and care and appreciation for them. So I'm really honest with my kids about how hard it would be. I went through that to some degree as a young man, so I get it to some degree. But I'm very honest about it. And then my girlfriend and I, we navigate that to the best of our ability. I'm not saying we get it right or we're perfect at it, but when we feel like maybe we shouldn't have done that, or we rushed that one a little bit, we evaluate and we take a step back and we work together on it. So I think it really comes down to open communication between my girlfriend and I, my kids and I, and how they're feeling, how everybody's feeling, how she's feeling, how my kids are feeling, and then we just navigate and make adjustments as necessary.
Yeah. You know where I struggled with this is I was probably too slow. I was the opposite. And then the introduction to the kids to the girlfriend was my issue. Like I don't know if you've experienced this or if I even put you in a bad spot, because I think she listens to the podcast. But for me, when I was dating girls, it meant something that I didn't introduce them yet. So it was like this measuring stick of like how much I like them and if they got to see the kids yet. And and I was overly cautious with it. It was like, I don't know, it seemed like this dramatic thing that was like a measuring stick, like I said, of how much I liked them. And if I didn't meet the kids, then obviously I didn't like them that much, right? Like it was this weird thing.
I think I'm more opposite. I would actually like for us to be more integrated than we currently are.
Got it.
And she knows that. Like nothing I'm sharing is news, because again, it goes back to what I was saying, open communication. So if she's listening, she's not going to be shocked that I'm saying that. I would like us to be more integrated, and we just have to take the reality of the situation and work it in with our own desires, and her desires might be slightly different than mine or vice versa. And so we all have to just navigate it together and have faith that we're going to massage this and work this for everybody's best interest. Because honestly, my kids aren't the only ones that matter. And that's not necessarily popular. A lot of people say, well, you know, the kids are the only ones that matter right now. That isn't true at all.
Nope.
I matter. My girlfriend, her daughter matter. My kids matter. Like I have all of these people who matter. And so we're trying to massage and work the way that this is going to work best. And sometimes she may need to sacrifice more, or my kids might need to sacrifice, or I might need to sacrifice more. And it's just the nature of the situation. So I have to be really willing to pivot and adjust on the fly, knowing that ultimately I have a desire for what I want, which is a long-term relationship with her. But also we have real life that we need to deal with, and she acknowledges that as well.
And in the end, depending on things, the kids are gone.
Yeah, sure, true.
And you're with her. So
Exactly.
you got to be making a decision from that perspective. I mean, I realized that when I married, that she was now the priority, not my kids.
Such a lot of people who aren't in this boat won't understand that. I think it's really, and I would have said this before too. I think it's really easy to say that my kids are everything when you're in an environment where everything is working perfectly. I would have said that 2 years ago. And when you're met and confronted with difficult circumstances, you begin to realize there's some nuance to the conversation. And there's some nuance here that I admittedly am trying to navigate. And I don't get it right all the time, but I acknowledge it and I recognize it. And I'm trying to adjust as necessary, not only for my children, but also for the woman I love and care about, because she has needs too. And that's important to me.
Yeah, and her kids.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I got to run after this question. Are you okay with one more?
Yeah, fire away.
David A.A. George. How can I help and support a friend who is struggling with alcohol? I don't want to be like other people to judge him, What should I do and what should I say? As alcohol is a far thing from me, I can't understand what he is going through. It is just very sad and hard to see him this way. As I saw him, he was very ashamed and wanted me to go. Please give me some advice.
That's interesting. He was ashamed. So he knows it's a problem.
Kind of pushing him away. Yeah.
Yeah. He knows it's a problem. That's good. That's actually good. It's better that he acknowledges there's a problem. It's better that he's ashamed of it than if he wasn't. Because if he wasn't ashamed of it, the answer I'd give to you is there's nothing you can do. But because you said he's ashamed of it, he knows there's a problem. And so what I would say, let's say, can we do a little role play?
Yeah.
Kip? So if you're the individual who's a friend of mine and I know you have a problem with alcohol, I'm going to come to you and say, hey, Kip, can I be honest with you about something? I need to talk with you. And you're going to say,
yeah, sure.
Okay. Hey, man, I want you to know first and foremost, I love you like a brother. I care about you. We've been together in this capacity for a long time. And I'm running the risk of maybe jeopardizing our relationship, but I feel like I need to bring something up. Can I bring that up to you?
Absolutely.
Hey, I've noticed your drinking is getting worse. And you're not as healthy mentally as you used to be. Physically, you're not as healthy. You seem really irritable, very emotional, very, very contentious with people. And I've noticed a huge change in you. And man, it's not you. I hate to see it. Do you think it's a problem? Now, look, if he says, no, it's not a problem, say, okay, I think it is, but I just want you to know I still love you. I still care about you. You're still part of my circle. I still want to do things. I'm just telling you right now, you may not acknowledge it, but Kip, it's a problem, man. It's a problem.
And I feel
your wife sees it, your kids see it, I see it, your colleagues and coworkers see it. You might not see it, but it's I'm telling you right now, it's a problem. And I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to give you some objective feedback. If you decide it's not a problem, I'll love you the same way I always have. I'm telling you, you're different than you were, and it's hurting people around you.
Got it. And I would bet that the response to that question for a lot of guys would say, and I don't know if this is true, but I would guess that I see that I'm more irritable. I see that I'm being a punk, that I'm showing up differently, but it's not the alcohol. It's this other thing, Ryan, I got going on, and it's stressing me out, and I'm just kind of addressing it the best I can, and because of that, I'm drinking a little bit more.
Yeah. So here's what I would say to that.
Alcohol is usually a byproduct, right? It's like a solution to something, right? And so they may see it that way.
Yeah. So if you told me that, here's what I'd say. Kip, thank you for telling me that. I was wondering what's going on. I can see how your marital issues are creating some stress for you. I can see how you starting that new business is a source of frustration. I can see that. I appreciate that. I've been there. But you know what? Your drinking isn't helping the situation.
Spot on.
So I acknowledge what you're saying. Yeah. And we do. We have to validate people's feelings. This is one thing guys will do a lot. People will do a lot. You'll even do this with your wife. She'll say, I had a hard day. It's like, oh, hon, don't have a hard day. Things are good. Bro, you just invalidated what she was feeling. Instead of that, say, you had a hard day? Why? And it doesn't matter what she says. She might say, oh, my boss yelled at me. And you might think, well, just get over it. People yell at people all the time. Don't say that. Just say, oh, you know what? That's got to suck. I'm sorry your boss yelled at you. How are you feeling about it? You don't need to solve her problem. Just let her work through it. And it's the same thing with your guy friends. When your guy says, yeah, dude, my marriage is in shambles and this, say, well, you're an idiot. Like, your wife's great. What's your problem? Just get over it. You're invalidating how they feel and you're creating barriers. So instead say, your marriage is on the rocks? Damn. I didn't know that. What's going on? Man, my wife and I, we had a problem 2 years ago. I don't know if you know, we almost went through a divorce. What's going on with you, though? That's validation. You need to validate people's feelings because it allows you to work with them a little bit closer. And so I might say to you, Kipp, yeah, look, I know work's hard. I know your wife's and you, I know your guys' relationship is not going well. What's your goal with your marriage? What do you want? You want a divorce? And you're going to say, no, hell no, I don't want a divorce. I married this woman. I care about her. I want to be with her. Oh, that's good news. But can I be really frank with you, Kipp? Yeah. Your drinking is moving you further away from the goal that you have. So you might be stressed out about that marriage. I would be too if I was in the same boat as you. Your drinking is moving you further away from your wife. So you sit here and you're telling me that you want to have a healthy marriage with your wife, but you're going through the rocks and you think that your drinking is going to help that? Let's go get some help together. You need to go to AA. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Al-Anon, which is a AA type meeting for individuals of loved ones who are alcoholics. So you're going to go to that, and I'm going to go to this meeting, and I'm going to do this with you because you just told me your goal, and I just told you I loved you. So it's my responsibility to help support you. If you go, or let me say it this way. If I go, will you go? I think you need to walk this person through that a little bit. And look, if they resist and they push back, like there's only so much you can do, but that's the initial conversation. That's what I would do. And frankly, really, really frankly, and I know you got a jet, Kipp, I wish somebody would have done that for me. And I'm not pinning that on you or anybody else because I was closet drinking. So a lot of people didn't know. So I'm not pinning that on anybody else. But man, if somebody would have said that to me a year ago, damn if my life wouldn't be a whole lot different. And I'm not dissatisfied with where my life is now, so don't conflate the two. I'm really happy with where my life is now, and I'm making amends, and I'm moving on, and I've got a relationship and all these things that are really wonderful. But man, if somebody would have said those things to me a year and a half ago, it would be different than what it is today.
Yeah. I think we did him a solid.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope we did that guy a solid, and I hope we did his friend a solid.
Yeah.
Too many guys won't say anything. Like they'll see their buddies step out on their wives. They'll see their buddies get sloshed on the weekend and make a complete fool of themselves. Yeah. They'll see them do dumb things, and they're like, "Well, I don't know how to bring it up. I don't want to make it uncomfortable." That's your job. You're a friend. That's your job. Your job, like you have to be willing to risk the friendship. If you really care about that person, you have to be willing to put the relationship on the line. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't tell me you're that person's friend, because you're not. You're really not.
And this is in the spirit of one of the themes of this call is, should you or shouldn't you say something? That's it. Don't worry about the consequences. And if the answer is yes, then you do. And we need to stop operating and trying to control the outcomes of other people that are outside of our realm of control, and focus on just doing what is right. And let the chips fall where they may.
Can I just give one more other thing on the buddy who's going through alcohol abuse?
Yeah.
He might say no to you. Like, hey, if I go to Al-Anon, will you go to an AA meeting? And he might say no. Say, okay, I'm going to go for the next 2 months anyways. I'm going to go. Like, I care about you. I get a little emotional because if somebody would have said that, man, that would have been life-changing. Like, you don't have to go. It's your decision. I'm going to go. And I'll let you know how it is, and I'll report back to you, and I'll keep inviting you, but I'm going to go for a couple months. Now, you can't do it forever, right? You have your own life. But, hey, I'm going to go for a couple months by myself, and if you change your mind, you know where I'll be. Man, that's love right there.
Totally.
I was going to share something, but I'm not going to share something because it's personal, but I will say this. When you support, dang, I'm getting emotional. When you support somebody like that, they're going to change. That's power. That to me is love. No judgment.
No condition.
No contingent upon, no contract. Nope, I love you. I'm going to go do this. You know where I'll be. If you decide to come with me. If not, doesn't matter. I'm still doing it. That to me is love for somebody.
Yeah. Spot on.
All right, brother. Bring it home for us.
Yeah, so to connect with Mr. Mickler on X and the Gram, that's at Ryan Mickler. You can join us on the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/Order of Man. We have some new t-shirts and some restock within the Order of Man store. Go to store.orderofman.com to get that. As well as the other thing as a call out is our Battle Ready program. Iron Council is closed. But if you want to kind of be your self-directed, self-paced in preparation of joining the Iron Council next quarter, go to orderofman.com/battleready.
Awesome. Great questions today, guys. I love these questions. I loved them so much that I actually prepared a response, which I normally don't do. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoy it. And most importantly, I hope that it gave you something to consider. And in the spirit of the questions today, I hope it gave you something to consider where you can, I'm not going to say save your people because it's not your job always to save other people, but to shine and to be an example and to give them everything that you can possibly give so they can save themselves. It's not your responsibility. It's their responsibility. But we do have a responsibility of giving all that we can give. And I hope, and I've actually thought about, I need to reach out to some people actually. I have a couple people I need to reach out to today because of the things I just shared with you. All right, guys. Appreciate everything. We will be back on, I'm so confused because we're recording this a week in advance. We'll be back Friday for our Friday field notes. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.